Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our experiment today, where today we're taking a look at if a club had crazy affiliates. Before we jump into it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this and a lot more things to come in the future. But like I say, today it is all about affiliates. So we've got Bradford City here. They've got exceptional youth recruitment, and with that they've also got some fantastic affiliates. And those affiliates are clubs from all around the world. So if I just scroll through here, I mean, the top one you can see Angola, you've got Bilbao, you've got Bangladesh, Mali, Lebanon, as well as obviously the obvious Ajax there, El Ali of Egypt, you've got Al Sakir of Yemen, Anderlecht of Belgium, you've got ASEC Mimosas from Ivory Coast, you've got Auckland City of New Zealand, Benfica from Portugal. So I don't need to go through, but if I just slowly scroll through as much as I can, there's some massive names and some smaller names from countries all over the world, including the likes of Inter Moengotepe from Suriname. So crazy clubs. The idea of this save is to get crazy amounts of players into the first team and high quality players from all around the world and see how that can work for Bradford City. Just in general, really, it's just an interesting little setup they've got, I think, and it'll be interesting to kind of see how they progress and how things go. Looking at things, obviously, it's a case that they haven't got an incredible team to start with. If we look at their Sky Bet League 2 season preview, we can see that they are, in fact, if I'm not blind, which I am, 9th in the table. So they're kind of a middling side. But if we see how they progress with signing youth players from all these different clubs who will be sending them over to get training, and they obviously do come through every now and then, it'll be interesting to see. So lots of different nationalities, and we'll have to see how well Bradford do. But let's jump ahead and take a look at how they get on. So we are 2 years on now, so there will be a couple of players coming through the side, developing in the club. So if we look at the history, we can see that they haven't really gone anywhere. Last season, they were in 15th, up to 7th, and then they finished in 8th this season. So nothing too dramatic there as of yet. But let's take a look at the players. So they've got a senior squad and an under-18s where we'll see most of the players in at the moment. But you can just see here what influence those affiliates have made already. You've got the likes of Mohammed Islam from Bangladesh, who's in the youth setup, who looks okay. You've got obviously the likes of Prince Kumbi from Congo, Mozambique's Reginaldo Macamo, and obviously Anibio from Belgium. Wow, quite a cool name. But like I say, going through that, you've also got North Korea's Ri Jong-hyuk. So they're saving people from North Korea, which is quite nice. And Eric Ibrahim from Ghana. Now, if we take a look in the first team, we may be able to actually see that a few of these players have actually come in as well. So we've got the likes of Zdravko Stefanov, a centre midfielder from Greece. So that's an interesting one for sure. It'll be interesting as well to see what sort of money they can make in the long term with selling these players and that sort of thing. You've got Lawrence Abubakar from Nigeria. He's an attacking midfielder, striker player. And then their big player at the moment coming through the academy is Sofiane Carbucci, who looks pretty tasty. At 16 years old, some nice dribbling, first touch technique, as well as determination and flair, and then some nice physicals as well. So it looks like it is working. They are in 8th, so they are fighting for that playoff place, getting closer and closer to that spot. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes and if they are able to climb up there and how that goes. But we will jump ahead again and see if there's any improvements. All right then, so we are a couple more years on this time, and it looks like they did get promoted, but unfortunately seems to be 24. So the year after, they did end up finishing in 2nd, which got them the promotion they needed, but they did end up coming bottom of League One, which unfortunately means they will be relegated again. Let's take a look at how their squad's lining up. They've obviously still got the youth recruitment, which is great. We've got Miles Jedinak in managerial role, which is an interesting one for sure. Looking at the senior players, I mean, we can see here Sofiane Carbucci, who we notified last time, is wanted by Burnley. So already these players are being wanted by other clubs. He's already scored and played 2 times for Morocco as well, which is quite cool. You've got Sławomir Jóźwiak, 18-year-old fullback, who's also playing in the under-20s for Poland. Moon Hyuk Chol, a midfielder for North Korea, who's played 14 times. So these players are obviously coming up because they're too old for the youth academy. It would be interesting if they do have started selling players as well. Mohamed Islam as well played a few times for the first team along with that. So there are players in there. Under 18s wise though, you've got Pablo Dragon. What a name, by the way. Pablo Dragon. Crazy. Argentinian fullback. You've got Isaac Simmons, a Belarusian fullback as well, who's made his under-21s appearances for them. And there's plenty more here as well, which is some interesting nationalities as well, which I think so much fun when you've got players from all over the world playing at the club. And their second nationality will likely be English because they've come through an English side. So that's obviously useful if you do want to play this sort of save, which I think would be quite cool to have, especially if you limit yourself to only using the academy players rather than anything else. You've got players leaving on free transfers like Luke Garber and Josh Cogley even. Let's take a look at transfer history though. Have they made much money? It looks like they've sold some players. So you've got Stefanov, who we saw previously. He was sold to Southampton, where he's on loan at Utrecht. So that's quite a cool little one there. Reece Staunton is just a normal player. Nothing interesting there. You've got Sam Hornby as well, who's left. Colin Lavery. Again, nothing really of note here with any other players, but that's quite cool. £375,000 they've made off him initially. David Tutonda, again, another player. I should have really made a bit more of an understanding of what players there are coming in and out. But there you go. We'll jump again, take a look at how they've got on further. Can they get that promotion again back to the League One, or are they limited to League Two? So we've gone for a 5-year jump this time, taking a good look around. We've got the youth recruitment still very, very high. We are now in League One, it looks like, with Bradford. So they've had some ups and downs. Obviously, they got relegated last time we saw them. Spent a year in League Two, where they then ended up in the second season getting promotion through the playoffs. Got relegated, unfortunately, straight away again, but then have gone straight back up. So they are bouncing between the two leagues. So it's a shame, but also a good sign that they are looking to develop. It looks like they've also got Troy Parrott on at the club. I don't know if that's on loan. Oh no, it's contracted. So quite the coup for them, really, with him having played for Tottenham and being one of those standout players coming through the academies. But let's take a look again. So Dave Richards is in fact their high prospect player. I mean, those mentals are looking very, very tidy at left back. So nothing too exciting there with regards to English players. But looking at the rest of the club, you can still see that there are so many players. I don't know quite why that is. Finances, they must be absolutely tanking when they come to bank balance. They've got 28 million, so they must have sold players, right? A £250,000 wage bill. That's crazy stuff. But yeah, you can see all these players from all over the world playing for the club. You've got Mohamed Islam, who's still here, the 5'8" Bangladeshi, 39 caps, 156 appearances and 12 goals for Bradford. So they're very worldwide. Devontel Harris from St Kitts and Nevis, Kittian and Nevisian, 51 caps. Wow, 24 years old as well there. Thomas O'Connor, a player who is formerly of Southampton Football Club, which I'm fully aware of, who has in fact left the club now. But there you go. Look at all those players. It's so cool to see. It makes me want to do a save like this, definitely, just because of how cool that would be and it'd be interesting with Bradford, with their under-19s, because they're obviously limited with players. You'd have to kind of try and move players on, because you wouldn't want that many players in your squad, would you? Because that is kind of ridiculous. Let's look at the transfer history, though. what we can see then. So we've got here Sofiane Carbucci sold to Newcastle United for 625,000. He was one of the big guns previously that we saw. We can also see a few more players in here. Any big names? Lawrence Abubakar going to Stoke for 425,000. You've got Callum Kirk and a few more in there as well. Going out on loan along with that. Any more money? Kelland Watts, MK Dons, he's a real player, so nothing too exciting there. But otherwise, lower amounts of money. But here we go, 2.1 million they've made here. Ri Jong-hyuk going to Charlton for £1 million. I mean, that's quite the sale for a North Korean. I don't know what the record is, but that's got to be up there. Junior Kalenga going to Hull as well. He's the Englishman from the club, and you've also got George Faki as well going through. If we move on again, 375,000, so it's dropped down again, but you've got players being sold for little bits amounts of money. Ukrainian there, a few players going to Karpati. Looks like a bunch of Ukrainian players have left to join them for a few thousand. North Carolina as well, a bunch free going out on a free as well as that. So it's interesting to see. You can really see that they're trying. I guess they're trying to make a bit of money off them, but it's not working quite as well as you'd probably hope. And they're still spending quite a bit. I mean, the fact that they've got so much money, I don't know how that's what happened. Their bank balance of 28 million. That's crazy money. Have they been taken over maybe because of how the quality of players they've got? Papi Ndior is another one who's their key player. He was someone who came through the academy, played on loan for a couple of seasons and has started to play for them in goal consistently. Looks pretty tidy, to be fair. So it'd be interesting to see if they can continue to rise up. Looks like they have, in fact, finished this season in 8th place. So they are higher up in League One. So we'll jump again and take a look at how they get on in League One this season, as well as if they are able to make it up to the Championship. And here we are, 5 years further on, and again, they looks like they were predicted 5th, and they ended up in 1st in Sky Bet League One. Wow, okay. So they ended up winning the league, so they are going to be in the Championship, so we'll have to go on one more season for sure. Let's take a look at their history, though. How did they get there? So it looks like they got the promotion from League 2. They hit League 1, as we saw. They unfortunately got relegated, but promoted straight away. And then they slowly started rising up the ranks in League 1, leading to the promotion to the Championship, which is very, very cool. I certainly have to say that must be a massive influence. Let's take a look at the squad. Oh my goodness me. Look at this. This is crazy amount of players. Like, how do you have that many players in your squad? I'd start moving the loan players out just to try and make it a little bit smaller. But you can see here, so many players from all over the place. You've got Nguyen Van Khoi from Vietnam, who's been looked at by a couple of clubs. You've got Suksan Yantrakul from Thailand. This is crazy stuff. Basim Gulam, Thierry Ngom Mirakiza. I am butchering so many of these names. I do apologise, but it's so cool to see so many different clubs with players coming through. Guadeloupe, friggin' look how many players they've got. 4 Guadeloupean players coming through Bradford City. That's mental. And they're Greek as well. Look at that. That's a big old wad of players. Wang Ju-hee coming through the Greek. Being Greek is interesting. And he's English. I mean, do they have a large... It's a very non-Greek name. Let's say that. But plenty of English players you can see there. And they're all so young. Look at all these young players. A few older ones here, as you can see. But, I mean, again, look, Cyprus, Croatia, Colombia, China, Cameroon, Belgium, Belarus. It's very cool. Very, very cool indeed. If we take a look at the top player, though, Roger Foyston is the player to keep an eye on at the moment. Putu Faisal is again another player that is being kept an eye on. Some fantastic pace as well. He's one of their key players in the squad. But let's take a look at their transfers. This is one of the exciting bits. So if we jump back to 31-32, here we go. 2.3 million they made. Simon Vickers being one player that left to join Blackpool. He's now at Sheffield United. Troy Parrott, Jordan Redmond, Shane McCann, Cosma, Montero. There's a few in there that have left the club for a few thousand. They've made $1 million this season with Finn Stevens, Saleh Al-Sayed, Abubakar Silla, Martin Atansov, going off there as well, Dramain Kessie. So they are making money. Well, I say they're making money. They're selling players. Not every season do they make money, as they seem to not be able to quite get the funds that they maybe want for these players. But again, 6.25 is probably the biggest amount they've got so far, and that was in the last season. Zoran Nesevic going off to Crystal Palace, the Montenegrin, a very, very good looking midfielder, attacking midfielder. And then you've also got Luis Kitenda, who went for 1.7 million, an Angolan centre half. So a couple of players there going for a bit bigger money, and then overall you can see that there's a few players in here that have gone for a lot more. Ahab Asa as well, the Syrian who's got a fake face on there, going off to clubs as well. So it's working. Obviously, they are getting up the leagues. I still can't quite believe how many players there are in the squad. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, having to scroll for this long to get down there is mental, and I wouldn't advise it in any other save. It'd be interesting. I'm definitely going to be doing one of these saves at this point, whether it's this year or next year. Definitely doing this because this looks very fun. But let's jump ahead one more time, take a look at how they get on in the Championship and if they can continue to progress. Okay, so 5 is on 2040. So it's been 20 years effectively since our start here. And we have got to a stage where they are in the Championship. They've had a bit of an up and down period for them, but they have managed to kind of stay in the Championship for the last 3 years. So they've done pretty well there to stick around. They have got a bunch of players still, I'm sure. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Still a shed load of players. Look at that. That is just insane. So insane. Let's see. Who's their tallest player? Wow. So just looking at that, their shortest players are 5'1", which is mental. And then 6'7", Kwame Kingston is their tallest. The striker, who'd be probably a pretty good target man, that's for sure, with that height advantage. And he looks very, very nice, I have to say. Looking at that, though, let's also look at the transfers, which is probably the most fun bit, seeing if they can make that money. So 2.2 million was previously. Thomas Steele going to Sheffield Wednesday is a big one. And then you've also got Juanjo Camara, the Spaniard, off to Portsmouth, along with Carlos Afonso, the Angolan, who scored 7 times for Angola in 16 caps, heading off to Bournemouth before moving on to Nottingham Forest. 16 million they brought in this time. A £7.25 million move to Braga for Ken Schreurs. The Belgian, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Martin Bressani to Real Betis. You got Mirko Fetchner to Fulham, Jose Cruz to Bristol City, Dia Amam to AZ Alkmaar, and many more as well. Jump again, and we can see 5.25 million this time. Domingo Mbaigolem being the player to have left for the most amount that season, 1.3 million. So nowhere near the amount that they ended up spending, but interesting nonetheless. You can see Jason Lashley was the player that moved on. He's currently at, wow, okay, he's in Bosnia, following his move to Watford as he's on loan. So they had a little bit of a trade deal. 4.2 million as well this season, with a few more players being sold there. And finally, 18.5 million, the most amount of money they've brought in a single season that we've seen. Baba Frimpong going off to Middlesbrough, the Ghanaian, who's, you can probably tell that that's a fake face, so ignore that. But the left back going to Middlesbrough, very, very athletically gifted, which is very cool. 7.5 million for him. Roger Freusten off to Aston Villa. He's a 21-year-old, capped once for Ireland. Also a fullback with a bit of experience there. And then you've also got the likes of Davor Mijilic, the Macedonian, off to Southend. And then also Mohamed El Sayed off to Pyramids in Egypt. The Egyptian heading back to his home country. 52 caps and 2 goals for them as well. So very, very impressive. But, I mean, it works, doesn't it? If you look at that, over 20 years, Bradford City have made a substantial growth in their side. Give it a few more and they might even make it up to Premier League football with the affiliates they've got. I mean, if we look at the wages and stuff, the average wage is £1,700. I'm guessing that's because of so many young players at the club being so low. I can't imagine they're actually going to be able to hold on to that sort of wages forever. What we can also see is that the bank balance has reduced a lot since we first saw that. Interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. If we look at the history, though, and we jump on the manager radar, we can see that they have won a couple of things, being the leagues that we've seen them increase. But look how many managers they've had over that time. No one more than a couple of years. The longest one was Alan Manus, who went for 3 years. But they've struggled since then. So Tom Edwards leaving the manager role after 194 days, which is interesting. But there you go. A very, very interesting save that I think would be definitely worth doing. Even if you limit yourself to not signing anyone, I think that would be very, very cool. But we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and leave a comment down below of any experiments you want to see in upcoming episodes. See you then.